So, but of course they didn't start showing up until I was engaged and until I moved. And then everything started to shift. They got heavier duty. There were dead bodies showing up in his trunk, he was saying. There were webcams all over the neighborhood. And all this stuff because you have to go to Mars. Look at what's happening if you don't. Because if he didn't succeed, he was either going to be killed if he stayed on Earth with me. I mean, it got to the point where what seemed to be fluffy and, oh, they're protecting the human genome, and yeah, you know, you need to go to Mars with us and help do this, to, you know, dead bodies, webcams, you know, going out and communicating with beings. He would come back and we would all get sick, to climbing out of the window and hell, I mean, it was just like mayhem. And I'm thinking, if you're really communicating with a higher race, would this really be happening? And I said, I know that they're sending him information via a chip or something. He said that his parents were chipped. They were going to meetings at night. And this is before I really knew a lot of the stuff that I know now, but I was trying to piece it together. Well, before I was getting really aware that something was wrong, and after I'd gotten engaged and I had moved my two children to North Carolina, I had this dream. And it was an extremely lucid dream. I dreamt that I was being taken up in the ship, and I was in the ocean, I was in the water, and I was taken up in the ship by chains. And when I got into the ship, there was a bunch of people wearing black, and they had their little spy thing. Actually, he had a similar thing. And this voice from the sky, I love the dreams where the voice from the sky comes, because it's like, oh, the voice in the sky. The voice in the sky said, you have a choice. You can either go to Mars, or they didn't say Mars in the dream. They said you can either go with them and they'll control you. They won't hurt you, but they'll control you, or you can stay on Earth and do your mission. I said, well, of course I'm going to stay on Earth and do my mission. So before you know it, I'm launched out of the ship and I fall plunk into the cold water. And I feel it, and I'm just like, I'm feeling the cold water. And I'm seeing, you know, the ship starting to go away, but, you know, my partner's still in there, so I'm like, I need to, you know, make sure that he comes here too. And so I shoot up into the air, and there's lightning and thunder, and I can't, there's like a storm, I cannot reach the ship anymore. And the voice said, you made your choice. I plunked back into the water, and I was all alone, and I was like, I made my choice. And then all of a sudden, like, I just swim to shore, and this organic light just filled the sky, and these planets aligned and did all this stuff, and it was like, I just was filled with this feeling, this divine feeling, you made the right choice. So I woke up in the morning. This is before I knew he was sent to recruit me. This is before he was acting all weird. Sorry to kind of backtrack. This was before the phone calls and everything. I said, hey, check out this crazy dream I had. I was like, oh, I was being taken, you know, off. They said they were going to control me. And then I made a choice, and he was just like dead stare. He's like, you shouldn't have told me that. Then everything changed. He started to leak information to me. The only way he would share information is if he pulled apart the batteries, dismantled all the technology so that we couldn't be heard. He said they hear us, they're watching us, and all. This is when everything started coming out. I'm like, wow, that was a powerful dream, because it's all coming out now. He said, you know, your website and everything that you do, they know this about you, and this is part of why. I was like, who's they and what? And then, you know, something stopped, and he disappeared for a couple of days, and then I was like, okay, I got to get all the names of the people that he's dealing with. And I paid attention to all their names. And I've said it enough publicly, and I'm going to say it again. Maybe I'll share one or two of those names. Because so what, right? I mean, it's already on public record. And so I started to do research, and I didn't see anything that was that bad. It was like, okay, he's a physicist in Austin. Okay, well, this person, you know, works at Los Alamos. Okay, that's a little weird, because, you know, there's definitely some stuff going on there. And just, you know, a few of these other people just had cover occupations, and so did he. He worked at a research thing for alternative vehicles. And I realized these were all cover occupations. So what I ended up doing was just looking a little bit deeper. And for 2 weeks, I did nothing but research. And all these names. And I looked at every association that anybody had ever had with any of them, until I got on a website about a case called Paul Benowitz, somebody who had experienced, you know, alien encounters and was being sort of almost even more traumatized by the fact he wasn't being taken seriously, but they had brought him into his wing. This is what happened with my ex. He had witnessed cattle mutilations and this and that. After he witnessed that, he got a phone call, and they asked him to come so that they could support him because he was a contactee. And then I was thinking, red flag, why would they contact him, and how did they even know? I'm like, they did this. They have the technologies. They probably did this. They saw that he, you know, had an encounter, and now they're bringing him in, acting like a John Mack type that is going to, what, counsel him and give him some position? And so this is exactly what happened and what they did. And so when I finally saw the names of the people he was talking with linked to HARP technology and ELF, you know, the low frequency, and artificial telepathy, I was like, ding, 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 because I knew that when he was going out and getting communications about going to a Mars colony, this was not a normal communication. This was not a higher race looking out for us to take us off planet. So this was a heavy-duty agenda. There's no need to evacuate Mother Earth, and he's being completely manipulated, and these people are bad. And I was like, oh my God, we're engaged, my children live with him. Ah! So from that point on, it took about 5 or 6 months to, glad I can laugh now. 5 or 6 months to completely get away from it all. And I was like, well, the only way that I can really do this, because they don't think I know this stuff, is to talk about it. Because I know that I'm being bugged, and the minute they know I know what they're doing, maybe they'll lay off. And that's exactly what they did. I was loud about it on the phone. I'm like, yeah, and like, I think he's Marduk, and even though, maybe his cousin. So I just, I was very loud about it. And then all of a sudden, it's just like everything kind of started to clear, and they're just like, they kind of pulled him away from me. But I mean, I could get into more of the story. It's so intense. I just can only just kind of cover a bit of it. But the point is, it was based on this agenda, and this is what the MyLabs are. It's not, the Greys. They're like clones. They're not real beings. They can't really connect to source. Reptilians are a little bit different. They use them. And I'm going to get into more of reptilian stuff and Anunnaki and all the races later. But there was a third race that Eisenhower supposedly met with, and they're the Venetians. And they were basically informing that even after the technologies and all the trades that happened and what seemed to be a dire, potential disastrous destiny for humankind was starting to play out, and he warned us. After, like in '64, he supposedly had an encounter with Nixon with these 3 Venetians that were sharing a lot of information with the government. But they wouldn't disclose it because they said, if we share this information, then they won't need us anymore. The whole point is they want us to depend on them. So there is a really good thing about the Venetian energy right there. Now, Sophia behind the scenes, I'm actually going to get into all that when I do my next talks. This is a picture of looking glass technology. This is, I think there's more than one form of it, but it can look into the past, look into the future. It creates artificial timelines in the sense that it manipulates timelines. It creates false energies because, like I said, they stayed one step ahead, and all this other stuff. When I was taken into one of the ships when I was in South Africa, I'd never seen this before, but what they do is they were putting people on mats and taking prints of their aura, and then using those prints to, create kind of like it was weird, just like kind of another entity. And I think that was, part of the siphoning into, the artificial timeline that I was seeing, which is what I was talking about. So, this is the potential Mars colony that could have been. And, they have so many people up there, and they're enslaved. And, they were promised things that they'll only get if they succeed in controlling us. So when I was breaking free of the agenda, if some lives were lost, God bless them. But they're, you can't, I mean, you can only do what you can do. But the point is, I knew that was a timeline that wasn't real, and we are anchoring the organic ascension timeline right here, right now. This is probably the most crucial week as far as the amount of Venus energy that's coming in to awaken the shadow Venus so that we can really utilize it, because Mars needs Venus. Mars needs to be informed by Venus. It needs to be enlightened. The solar plexus energy and humanity that is bought into these agendas, that have willingly given themselves away without realizing it, need to understand the solar plexus Mars energy. So it's not a surprise that this is the celestial body that's a part of this agenda, because it's the control planet, it's the planet of domination, it's the planet that wants to exile the divine feminine energy. So what better than the Venus transit energy and the Venus and her whole just pathway in our experience on planet Earth to assist in enlightening it. And that's what our role is. Our role is to emanate that as the immune system, to raise the consciousness of the Mars energy into divine will, because it's willful. Mars is the warrior, but it needs guidance from the higher self, and that's what the Venus energy is doing. So breaking free of the recruitment, in a sense, was my way of forgiving them, but giving them this other opportunity to understand you don't have to work for these overlord, I'm not going to cuss, you don't have to work for these people. You can, be embraced. I mean, even if they have threatened, it's, the unconditional love of the Creator is the unconditional love of the Creator. You cannot dupe the supreme agenda. You cannot trump the supreme being on any level. So.
For more information on the next Star Knowledge Conference, call Alan at 818-661-7437 or go to starknowledgeconference.com.